Allianz Ireland, along with the G8 today, have announced the renewal of Allianz support of communities across Ireland through a 5-year extension of its sponsorship of the Allianz Football and Hurling Leagues. I'm delighted to say that I'm joined in the studio today by two Meath men, Donal Keogan, Graham Geraghty, welcome.
Thanks very much.
How are you boys?
No bother.
Good, yeah.
It's been a while since you've been in a room together, or are you catching up at Meath functions all the time, or what's the story?
No, we're not catching up with Meath functions anyway. But I suppose the last time we were in the dressing room was 2012 together, so yeah.
Was that your last year playing football and your first year playing football? Football?
Yeah, Graham was tottering around the place there and giving me words of wisdom.
What was that year like, Graham? 2012?
It was unusual for me because I was selected with Banty as well, so I'm actually responsible for bringing him in. So there you are. Like that's the only good thing I've done.
Well, I believe you. Like, what happened in 2012, Donald? Because like for a lot of people, I suppose the decade from 2010 after that Leinster final win up until last year when you got promoted to Division 1, it could be seen as a bit of a lost decade in ways. But like you've come through in 2012. You've been nominated for All Stars. You're Meath captain at 23. For you, I'm sure it was a very fulfilling decade in a lot of ways. But you know, you came from nowhere in 2012.
Yeah, I suppose at the start of the year, I was still under 21 that year, and had been training with the seniors and actually broke my foot that January. I think it was the 3rd of January. We were playing a challenge match against Armagh. I just felt my foot wasn't right, and it actually turned out to be a stress fracture. So I actually ended up missing the under 21s that year, as it was under 21s. So then I missed actually a lot of the league then with the Meath setup as well. So I suppose the January, February, March of that year, no one would have even heard of me outside Meath maybe. And then obviously championship or the league came and went, and got down to the nitty gritty of championship. And I'd been training and doing all right, training marking like of Keane Ward and stuff like that, and Joe Sheridan and stuff like that. So in trainings it was a bit of a baptism of fire when you're marking them sort of lads. But then I remember distinctly going down to the Carlow game, was it? First game, and I wasn't named to start. I was in the panel. I was happy to be in the panel even at that stage. And I remember doing the warm-up, we warmed up away from the pitch. Remember that?
Yeah, it was
warmed up maybe 10 minutes away.
Right-hand side and away in, yeah.
Yeah, and we were doing the warm-up, and then Graham pulled me aside and he's like, just to let you know, like, your first blood sub on, as we call it then. So I was even delighted to hear that. Little did I know, after 8 or 9 minutes, that Seamus was going to, unfortunately, be struck with the injury, and then I was going to be called into action. So it was kind of a funny one that I didn't have much time to think about it, in terms of like, it wasn't eating away at me in the back of my head. So it was kind of a nice way to go in terms of like, I could just prepare for a game, but not knowing that I was myself. I was looking for 10 minutes. If I got 10 minutes at the end of the game, I'd be absolutely delighted. Like, but to actually be called in after 10 minutes was
less pressure.
A shock. Yeah.
What did you see, Graham? Like, what was that? I suppose that year for you was probably. You'd come back, and I think you were struggling with injury that year as well yourself, and it ended up being your last year playing inter-county football. What was it like balancing the role of selector and player that year? What did you see in Donal?
It was tough for me to try and balance. I had kind of hopes of playing, but they weren't long evaporating. But like Donal, and he's proved it over the last number of years, he's one of the best footballers in the country. I'm not just saying that because he's a Meath man, but fantastic. But at that time, he had power and pace, and one of the best man markers that we had in Meath, and like he's proven to be that man marker in the country now at this stage. But obviously Meath have developed him in a different way now, and but for us that's what it was, and that's what we hadn't got at the time. And he's just, for a young man, he was a born leader, and you could see that at that age.
That was a different Meath back then, 2012. There was still. Off the back of the Leinster title, and I suppose All-Ireland semi-finals in 09 and 07, there was plenty of lads in that team. The likes of Kevin Riley were around, Graham was in the dressing room. It's a very different Meath than we see nowadays in 2020 that you're leading alongside the likes of Brian Menton and I suppose Ciarán O'Sullivan. It's very different Meath. Yeah,
it's different, but like, the amount of information I took on in those first, say, even couple of years was invaluable to me, to be honest. Like, as you said, Kevin Riley, Joe Sheridan, Keane Ward, Brian Farrell, they were Owen Harrington. They had so much information that I was able to absorb off those lads that I could bring then, as they transitioned from year to year, and as those lads kind of dropped away and new lads came in, that was the information I could bring to those now, say, younger lads that they're hopefully learning from me. So it's kind of goes with any transition when you go from being the younger group of the flock to the older now. You've kind of a duty there to instill the knowledge and bring lads with you and inform them as much as possible. Like I did, I was like a sponge when I was around the the older, more senior lads. I was trying to take in all the information in the little tips, but now it's, I suppose, my turn now to dish it out.
Graham mentioned there how when you broke through initially, you had the power and the pace, and you were unbelievable at dispossessing forwards as well. Like we saw a lot. I remember being a Meath fan in Croke Park in those Leinster finals in 2013-14, and you wanted Donal Keogan on Kevin McMiniman or Bernard Brogan. But as you said, you're different now. You're scoring goals. You're one of Meath's main attacking threats.
One goal.
It's just one goal, but you've won penalties anyway, and definitely assists at the back post as well. But what kind of a footballer do you see yourself as, or is that a stupid question? Like, do you just? I think
the modern day footballer as such, it needs to be adaptable. Just given that the positions don't mean anything nowadays. You could be lining out with number 2 in your back, but you could be a third midfielder sort of thing. You know, that way. So you do need to be adaptable in terms of how you play, and I think that's kind of one of the things I've tried to bring in the last few years. I tried to, obviously, as a defender, your role first and foremost is to defend, and that's what you're in the team for. But also then, as a wing back, it gives you a bit more freedom to get up the pitch, get up a bit and support the attacks, and obviously that comes with different. You need a different set of skills to do that as well. So I'm trying to kind of master all the skills and to be as well-rounded player as possible. But I suppose underage, I would have played a lot of my football in the half-back line with Kenny, half-back, centre-back, wing-back. So I suppose that would be more of a natural position for me, is the half-back line, yeah.
Graham, would you have enjoyed playing wing-back in that Meath team at the minute?
I think I would, and the way the game has gone now, because it does, as Donal says, it gives you that freedom to get up the pitch. And I suppose when I was playing, I wasn't too fond of coming back, marking that, so it probably would have suited me to have more lads around me. But yeah, as Donal said, the game has changed so much. It gives the likes of the cornerbacks, the wing backs to get up and to get on the end of balls, and it's while it is exciting in a way to see defenders scoring, for me it kind of takes away in the skills of the forwards of the game now as well, because they end up defending more so than attacking than they did a couple of years ago. So it's difficult to keep that momentum coming during the game, because you're expected to run up and down.
What do you mean by that? Are you talking about the likes of, say, I suppose Brian McMahon and Keenan O'Sullivan? They would have roles, I suppose, as forwards where they filter back a lot and break forward you guys as well. Is that what
it's very hard to do that, for the whole game, and that's why I suppose you need a big panel. I suppose when they came in a couple of years, Graham Riley, for me, it kind of went against the way he played, although he was a great man from midfield breaking up. When he had to break from the half back line or nearly the full back line, he'd only do it once or twice a game, where he was doing it 5 or 6 times a game, and it's difficult, I think, as a forward. I suppose we're very hard on some of the Meath forwards at the minute that they don't seem to be getting a lot of scores. Apart from last Sunday, it was probably exceptional, but it's our midfielders and our half backs and corner backs that are getting up the field and scoring.
In terms of the last 10 years in Meath football, I suppose, Donal, you've had a number of managers. There was Seamus McEnany, there was Mick O'Dowd, Andy McEntee now. There's been a couple of years there, just consistency. Obviously there's this game plan that we're seeing with Meath that brought you to Division 1. Like, is that where it is now, or is it like, do you know what Jim McGuinness, when he broke through in 2011 with Donegal and he had them playing a very defensive setup, is there another element to your game that we haven't seen yet in Meath?
I think by the nature of the game, it's ever changing. I think even as I said, Jim McGuinness, like, that only lasted for a certain period of time. I think teams are becoming more they're becoming more aware that that's probably unsustainable. You see the likes of Dublin, they play a good free-flowing game of football, and the success they've had with it. I see Galway have kind of adopted a really free-flowing game of football again, and you see the joys they're getting out of it now with the league. So I think you have to be adaptive as a football team. So I suppose what got us here won't get us there is the mantra that we use. So we're always trying to learn, always trying to build. It's like a house, you're building blocks, you're trying to, what got you out of Division 2, you need more than that now to keep it in Division 1, and it's about building that, whatever that might mean, whether it's tweaking things defensively, tweaking things attacking, looking for those fine margins, the 1%ers that are going to get you the advantage over your opposition, I think.
You spoke a lot last year about, maybe not a lot, I saw you mention in one interview, Colin Nally coming on board and various coaches, and those percentages that have brought you along. And I suppose one of the most heartening things, I don't know if you'd agree, Graham, was, well, it was nearly as frustrating as it was heartening, how close you came to beating the likes of Donegal and Tyrone and actually qualifier games before the Super 8 last year. What's been the biggest jump in Meath football that you've seen?
Yeah, I suppose we obviously we were beaten by a point in both those games, so that was disheartening for us. Like, but we knew deep down ourselves that Tyrone, the year they beat us, they got to the All-Ireland semi-final, and that was the platform that we had. Like, if they got there and we were only a point away from them, that shows us that we have confidence in our potential, that we need to just go and express ourselves. And I think it was the confidence that we took out of those games, and then obviously the Super 8s last year as well, we got great confidence out of those, that we actually can compete. Obviously, in Super 8s we didn't win the games, but we were thereabouts with 55 minutes to go. So it was about finding, as Colin said, a couple of 1%ers that will bring you to the 70-minute performance, and then ultimately it's about, once you get the performance right there, results should follow themselves. But Colin's been a breath of fresh air, to be fair, in the setup. He's great attitude, he's really positive, he just looks at things in a different way that other people don't, and he just got a really good way about training them. Yeah, he's been refreshing.
We've had him in a couple of times, and he does have an interesting way of looking at the game and
very different things. Yeah,
some of his coaching stuff as well. You can see it on Twitter a lot as well. Graham, I'd like to get your perspective on watching Meath football from the stands. You mentioned there that perhaps we're a little harsh on our forwards in Meath. I know we have a number of frontline injuries with the likes of Mickey Newman being out and Porra Kernan and a few other lads. What's it been like watching Meath football for the last couple of years?
I suppose put your supporter cap on for a start. It's frustrating because the talent's there. As Donal says, we've been competing but just not getting over the line. And even if you take this year alone, I suppose some of the games I probably would have been targeted to get points. Well, Tyrone would have been in the first game. They were missing a few, key forwards that day. We probably should have got points out of that. We were unlucky, the game against Mayo as well. Very unlucky that day as well. So, if you take those two games, you'd be slap bang there in contention, So it's fine margins, and I suppose it's the little things that wins games, and it's just, if it doesn't go right for you, we find ourselves where we are at the bottom of the table, and we've 3 tough games ahead of us, but I think it's important I suppose Donald, he's around a long time now, is to keep the positives from what we've been doing, and there's a lot of young guys in there that could get very frustrated very easy, looking at the table, but that's probably not realistic where we should be, because we probably should have a couple of points at least anyway. So it's so if you're looking at it, it looks bad, but it's not all bad. I said we've been very competitive the last couple of years. Last year I said if we got to a Leinster final and got to the Super 8, would have been a fabulous year, and competing, and that's what we want from a supporter point of view as well.
Can I flip the question then, Donal? What's it like as a player? There's a huge amount of expectation. You're sitting beside a man here with a number of Leinster medals and All-Ireland medals, and what's it like then as a Meath player in the 2010s?
Yeah, I suppose we're looking at these lads, and a lot of our age group and our generation, they will be the idols for us. So obviously we're striving to get back to those levels, and we're longing for a bit of silverware and success in the county. So it can be frustrating when it's not going to plan. And a football career, it seems like a long time, 10 years, whatever plus, but it's gone the blink of an eye. And I can remember that game there against Carlow as my first game, and almost you click your fingers, you're 9 years later and you're looking down the barrel at 30 at the minute. So
have you ever questioned it, playing inter-county football?
No, I've never questioned it. I love it. I actually, it's become installed in me now. I think without it, I wonder what I'll do with my free time, but I love it. And I just send to Gara there, saying how much you're training, is that not frustrating and stuff. It's instilled in me now. It's almost like second nature now. I expect we train the days we're training and stuff like that. So I love it. Surprisingly enough. And I suppose obviously, given that we haven't been that successful, you'd wonder that.
Yeah, you can tell by
your
looking
interest
at you,
wane, but it doesn't really know.
It's not like you're not busy outside of work. Could you explain to us a little bit what you do?
So I work with Bristol Myers Squibb. They're a pharmaceutical company there, and they're based in Mulhullart, and they're biopharmaceuticals. So they're mainly based around the area of oncology. So they develop drugs for anti-cancer drugs. So I'm just kind of in the labs, mainly based in the labs there in Mulhullart, based really looking at drugs that are coming online and developing drugs and improving the process we have currently for the drugs to be made. So kind of almost preliminary work I do a lot of with work before it goes to commercial scale. So it's interesting, yeah, but as you said, it's full on, but there's always time for football. I always make time for football anyway.
I know you say that, and it's just that it's been a massive team this year, and we kind of did a piece on offtheball.com in early January where there seemed to be a huge amount of players dropping out of various inter-county panels. I'm not sure whether it was Tier 2 football or whether the demands have just gotten to a stage where you're looking at the top 4 or 5, the likes of Galway or Donegal, that might threaten, and it's like they might be able to threaten Dublin, but the rest of us were battling around that middle tier. And Graham, you were on with Nathan a few months ago, and I know yourself, you questioned whether or not you might have would you be able to stick with it in 2020?
Well, I suppose when you're in there, that's where you want to be. But I think it's frustrating. A lot of the team or guys we've seen leave county panels, they're on the fringe of it, they're not getting games, and that can be frustrating. If you're doing all the training, putting in the same effort as everybody else and not getting the game.
There was a lot of high profile players like Cavan lost Killian Clark and Darren McVeety, the likes of Michael Quinn from Tipperary's gone trapped. They're all life decisions. Like I know everyone's got their own personal decisions, but the GA, just looking from the outside in inter-county football, it's becoming a difficult game to get 10 years out of.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Like, at the end of the day, it's amateur and it's not going to pay the bills. So, as Graham said, a lot of them are fringe players, some of them are bigger players, and it's understandable there. They have your own agenda. You need to maybe go and travel, or you want to see the world. That's, I suppose you need to do it before bigger things come along your way, like, fabbing your jobs or whatever the case may be. So I suppose in their case that could be just an opportunistic times to go, but
would they be conversations that you're having in the Meath dressing room? Is there many lads, like you've got quite a young team there? I know Ronan Jones is working abroad.
Ronan Jones is abroad, yeah. So I think actually is finishing. He was in America for the last 2 years, so I think he's finishing now actually in March. So I think he might be coming home in March, I think.
But he's been travelling.
He came home for the last 3 games, yeah. So we just flown him home for the last couple of games, just because in the hope that in March he'll be home for good. So we want to kind of keep him in the loop there and give as much game time to him as possible. But I think, it's, as he said, it depends really on the player itself. I think a lot of the time, if you're a player that's maybe on the fringe and you're not getting a lot of games, as Graham said, obviously it's going to be easier to, say, walk away or something. But it's about keeping the interest. And even, I know with us, 4 losses out of 4, you could think that maybe the interest would be waning. But in the setup we have at the minute, it's really good actually. Because I think our performances have been so positive, the mood around the camp is really good. But it's all about, I suppose, a lot of management have to answer there. They have a lot of stuff to answer for, keeping lads interested and stuff like that. So it's a good mix between, one, the managers keeping players honest and stuff like that, and then keeping lads interested in themselves, whether they want for it or not.
Graham, when you heard the mark coming back this year, there was no threat of a comeback?
No, that's the only way I'd get the ball.
When did you last play club football? I remember being on the pitch recently enough. Yeah.
Well, last year I played Junior C and I ended up breaking my arm in the final against Ratoath. So that was.
Did you win?
No, we were beaten in the finish. But so that was the end of it. I was warned after that. So. But,
how's life outside of football?
That's good, yeah. As Owen says, I get to travel a bit now and see the world that I'm not involved with coaching or playing anymore. So a lot of free time. So it's grand to have that and go to kids' games and
there was
give out from the stands.
There was an unfortunate headline last year that the house had been robbed at home in that boy.
Yeah,
you lost your medals. Is there any update on?
No update yet. I got some of them back. All right, so they were found down in Arklow on the street in a bag, and those ones I got back, they're damaged as well. So it's I have to try and see can I get them restored some way. But there is a process I think you can go through of getting them replaced through the county secretaries and down in Conton Crow Park. So it's I'm going through that process at the minute. But I suppose they're not the originals, but it's nice to have something, I suppose, in years to come to look back on. But just you'll have the memories on it, but it'd be nice to have them show grandkids or great grandkids.
Of course. Before we go, lads, I don't want it to come across as if it's been talking about frustration. Has been a word that's been used a lot here, but I feel like it's a word that's used a lot with Meath football all the time, regardless. 2019 was a massively positive year getting to Division 1 football. What's progress this year?
I suppose at the start of the year, progress would have been staying in Division 1. It's still on the cards, very much so. There's 3 games left, 6 points on offer, so it starts with Galway this weekend in Navan, and I think that's our main focus now. So obviously Galway, they're flying after the weekend. They had a good win against Tyrone, so it'll be a tough task. But our focus will mainly be on that game, and if you can pull a result off there, then you're looking at going to the last 2 games, potentially 4 points might do it, 6 I think definitely would do it. So it would really be important to stay in Division 1. If that doesn't happen, I think there's benefits to be got from our experience of that. You know, this time last year, no players on the team had Division 1 experience, so going forward, everyone on the team will have Division 1 experience. I think that would be huge. But then looking into the forward and championships, then we'll have to take it game by game, I suppose, yeah.
Brilliant. Lads, thanks a million for coming in.
Thank you.
Thanks.